Mic check 1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to Gems with Josh. I'm your host, Josh. And man, can you believe it? We're already at the week 6 of the NFL season. Fantasy football is going crazy so far, man. A lot of up and down trends, a lot of players coming out that we probably didn't think would be great. Some players that we thought that would be great who aren't that great, man. It's kind of been crazy. But we're running into the bye weeks now, so the season's going to get even more crazier. With these bye weeks coming up, you're probably going to be starting some guys you probably had never imagined, 8 weeks ago that you'd be starting. But hey, we got to make sure we do what we do. Make sure with your lineups, with your guys on your team, you look for your future bye weeks that are coming up so you can make sure that you have bench depth. You have some guys that you feel comfortable putting in at a later date to start when your main guys are out. All right. With it being week 6 as well, you got to really start looking for those trades. Okay. You might want to go get a big dog like Nakua, like Puka or somebody like that. But just know you're going to probably have to package 2, 3, 4 guys and maybe go get somebody like that, right? Another guy I love out there is Ted McMillan, right? Getting a lot of targets. Isn't getting a lot of touchdowns in that Panthers offense, but he's been getting a lot of targets. Somebody's going to really probably carry on and get better as the season goes. As a rookie, Bryce Young, getting more comfortable with them. Guys like that are guys you want to start thinking about to go get. So, hey, week 6, start thinking about trades. Get that roster how you want to get it. Get those guys now before it comes too late. So let's go ahead and jump into our QBs for this week. 2 guys I love going against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Brock Purdy or Mac Jones. We're recording this EP a little earlier in the week, so I don't know exactly who's going to be starting quarterback this week. Doesn't matter. I like both of those guys going against the Bucs. The Bucs last week went against the Seahawks, and Sam Darnold looked like Joe Montana in the 1980s. He was shredding them. All right. Brock Purdy, last time he played, looked pretty decent in the offense, but Mac Jones last Thursday against a good Rams defense, slung the ball all across the field, over 300 yards, looked really, really good. I think going against that secondary of the Buccaneers coming up this week, I like either Brock Purdy or Mac Jones as a streamer this week going against the Buccaneers. If you're able to stream either one of those this week, if you don't got a quarterback or your quarterback's on a bye week, etc., you should feel comfortable with both of those guys. Another guy I love streaming this week, Trevor Lawrence going against the Seattle Seahawks. Again, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers went crazy against the Seahawks last week, and the Seahawks went crazy against them as well. So I really like Trevor Lawrence going against the Seahawks this week. One thing I loved seeing with Trevor Lawrence last week going against the Chiefs is he had 2 rushing touchdowns. All right, he's been using his legs a lot in the goal line, so that's a good sign. So I think this week he'll look even better at home going against that secondary of the Seahawks that's looked very shaky so far this season. It's always tough for West Coast teams coming to the East Coast. Trevor Lawrence, I think you should feel good about using him as a streamer this week at quarterback. All right, let's move over to our running backs. And finally, my main man I've been talking about in the preseason, Bill Krosky-Barrett, had his breakout game last week. I think it's going to go even crazier this week, all right? I love the fact that Jaden Daniels is back, and that Commanders offense is looking like the offense that we saw last year, and I think it's going to continue to get better and better. And this week they're going against the Bears. They have a really bad run defense. And the last time the Bears were playing, they played against the Las Vegas Raiders. And that's when Genty had his breakout game. So, again, I think the Bill breakout is going to continue this week. If you have Bill Krosky-Barrett on your team, you should feel very safe locking him into your lineup this week. I think he's going to have a really big game, all right? Another guy I like this week, probably would have never imagined I'd be even saying this name, Michael Carter for the Cardinals going against the Indianapolis Colts. All right. He stepped in pretty well for Trey Benson last week. He got majority of the first and second down runs. He got all of the goal line work. And the thing that I love about Michael Carter last week, too, is he had 5 targets. He secured all of his passes for those 5 targets. I think he's going to be RB1, for maybe the rest of the season. When Trey Benson gets back, he'll probably get his, his time to maybe show what he can do. But Michael Carter looked really good last week. I think going against the Colts this week, again, a lot of people are out, a lot of bye weeks, different things. I think you should feel pretty good about putting Michael Carter in your lineup. I had him in my lineup last week, 18 points, scored a touchdown. I think you should feel really good with him again this week. Another guy I love this week, man, running back. I think he's going to have his breakout this week, rookie RJ Harvey going against the New York Jets. The Jets' run defense is very, very shaky. Last week, Javonte Williams went absolutely bananas against those guys. And I think RJ Harvey and J.K. Dobbins are going to have a strong week again against them. The reason why I like RJ this week as well, though, is simply the passing game. He's continually getting more and more share time with J.K. Dobbins, but he's getting primarily most of those targets in the offense when Bo Nix throws. So RJ Harvey, I think this is his breakout week coming up this week going against the Jets. If you have him on your team, you should feel safe streaming him this week. All right, let's move over to wide receivers for this week. Stephon Diggs going against the Saints, man. Stephon Diggs, the thing I love so far about him, man, is the heavy target load he's been getting. Last week against the Bills, he had 12 targets from Drake May. He is really Drake May's safety blanket. I think Stephon Diggs continues the trend upward this week going against the Saints. I think their ACL is fully recovered now, and he's going to continue to get better and better in that offense. Stephon Diggs going against the Saints this week, like him a lot. Another guy who finally showed up last week, Calvin Ridley going against the Raiders, okay? Again, same thing with him. Young quarterback Cam Ward last week, heavy target load, and I really think that the Raiders' pass defense is really, really shaky, man. Everybody's had a pretty good season against them so far this season. I think Calvin Ridley is getting really, really more secure and getting a better rapport with Cam Ward. I think he'll have a good week this week going against the Raiders. If you got Calvin Ridley, you should feel safe putting him into your lineup this week. And last but not least, I'm calling my shot again this week. Matthew Golden is going to be his breakout week going against the Cincinnati Bengals, okay? Cincinnati Bengals pass defense has not been very good this season. And, you know, the last time Matthew Golden was on the field, he had 6 targets in that game against Dallas, all right? He was tied for the amount of targets in that offense that week. They had a bye week last week. Rookies are going to get more comfortable in that offense with Jordan Love and on that playbook. I think this is the week that Matthew Golden breaks out in that Packers offense. If you got him, lock him into your lineup, all right? Tight ends this week. Again, I'm going to go with that same crew that I said last week. The Cleveland tight ends going against the Steelers. Again, Dylan Gabriel is a quarterback now for the Cleveland Browns. Young quarterbacks love tight ends. They're going to continue to keep looking for them. Last week, Harold Fannin had multiple targets, had a touchdown, scored over 12 fantasy points, and the Njoku had a ton of targets and had a really good game last week as well. I like both of those tight ends again going this week against the Steelers. Lock them in. Another guy I like this week, same situation, young quarterback, Jackson Dart and his tight end, Theo Johnson, going against the Eagles, all right? Theo Johnson got a lot of targets in that red zone, had multiple touchdowns, and I think that will continue this week. I think he's going to get even more targets as Jackson Dart gets comfortable. They're going against a tough Eagles defense on a short week Thursday night. I think Jackson Dart will be, dropping it down a lot this week and really looking for his safety blanket tight end, Theo Johnson, this week. I think if you need somebody to stream, you should feel very safe putting him in at tight end this week. And last guy, man, I don't know if I'm saying his name right, so excuse me if I'm not. Jake Tongs or Jake Tungis going against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I really like this tight end a lot in that San Francisco offense. George Kittle being out, I think a lot of people were worried, how the tight end position would look in the 49ers offense. But, man, Big Jake has looked really, really good in the offense so far. In his last game, he had 11 targets going against the Rams. Again, don't matter if it's Brock Purdy playing this week or Mac Jones. They're going to really look for the tight end in that offense. And the Buccaneers defenses look very shaky this season. Barner from the Seahawks last week had a touchdown against them. I think Jake will have a great game this week going against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. If you haven't picked him up already, definitely want to pick him up. And if you need a tight end to stream this week, I think you can feel very safe putting him into your lineup this week. Again, guys, we're in week 6, man. So we're getting closer and closer to that time of the year where you really need to start making trades, all right? So start looking in your leagues. If you're in a 10, 12-man league, I'm telling you right now, the waiver wire is looking ugly right now. Not a lot of guys out there that you can get this late in the season. So start thinking about some trades that you can make, right? Maybe you have, a bunch of running backs on your bench that are, pretty solid, but you can't start them all. Package them and go get your wide receiver. Vice versa, if you got a lot of wide receivers and you don't have a really good running back or a true RB2, package those guys together and go get somebody. And if you really want to make a bang and go get one of those top, 5 quarterbacks in your leagues, package some things together and go get them, okay? This week, man, TNF, right? We always bet on TNF every week. We have the New York Giants going against the Eagles. And we're switching it up, man. Underdog. We're going underdog this week, all right? If you guys go on underdog, you can use our code Gems with Josh to bet. We'll get a sign-up bonus, and eventually, as you guys invite people over as well, they will get a sign-up bonus as well. Underdog's been doing as well lately. So we're going to go underdog this week for our picks, and we're going to go ahead and start on the Eagle side. We're going with Saquon Barkley. They have him at 0.5 rush receiving yards this week. Love it for Saquon. He's going against his former team. Anytime he goes against the Giants, he's going to go super hard and try to really, make them pay for letting him, walk a couple seasons ago. So I like Saquon getting in that end zone this week, no matter if it's rushing or receiving. So lock Saquon in for that. Again, 0.5 rush receiving touchdowns up on Saquon. Saquon also this week going against the Giants. They have him at 2.5 receptions. I'm going to go up on that one. Saquon hasn't actually been running the ball too well this season, but he's been getting a lot of targets in the passing game as well, and he's been doing very well. I like him for over 2.5 receptions this week. Lock Saquon in for that. Running back on the other side, Cam Scatterboo, okay? They have him at 12.5 rush yards. I'm going to go up on that one. The Broncos played the Eagles last week and ran the ball pretty well against them. J.K. Dobbins looked good. I think having a young quarterback with Jackson Dart, they're going to run the ball. They're going to play pretty conservative, especially going against a pretty good defense like the Eagles. I think Cam Scatterboo, 12.5 rush attempts. I think he'll get over that this week. They have another one on Cam Scatterboo this week. They have him at 66.5 rush receiving yards. I think Cam Scatterboo will go over that as well. Again, J.K. Dobbins looked really good last week rushing against the Eagles. Cam's going to get some drop-offs from Jackson Dart, young quarterback as well. 66.5 rush receiving yards this week for Cam Scatterboo. Up on that one. Lock it in. Another guy on that Giants offense I like this week, Daniel Bellinger at 1.5 receptions. Jackson Dart has really been targeting the tight ends in that offense so far. He's really been looking for Theo Johnson, but he's also been targeting Daniel Bellinger a lot in that offense as well. So 1.5 receptions. I think he's going to hit that for sure. I think he'll get 2 or more catches this week. So Daniel Bellinger, 1.5 receptions. Lock that one in. And last but not least, Devontae Smith. They have him at 50.5 receiving yards this week. I really like that a lot. Devontae's really been the wide receiver one in that offense. Jalen Hurts has really been looking for him. He had a really, really good game last week against the Broncos. I like Devontae going over 50.5 receiving yards this week. That's a 6-pick play. That's a 20. If you win, that's 27.23 times. Whatever you're betting in that. Again, use our code Gems with Josh. I think this is going to be the week, man. We hit 6 for 6. All these other weeks we've been going 4 for 6, 5 for 6, etc., etc. I think this week is a week we're going to go 6 for 6. And again, man, we're betting on underdog this week, showing love on underdog this week. Gems with Josh on there. I've been really appreciating everybody who's been showing love on the TikTok, the YouTube, asking for advice throughout the season. Guys, continue to keep hitting us up on there as well as Instagram. And, don't feel bashful at all. Ask any advice that you want, right? Even if you're a super seasoned fantasy guy or somebody who's just learning, right? Love talking with you guys on there, and I hope to talk with you guys again this week. We will be updating our picks again Sunday morning. We try to lock in live on TikTok every Sunday, 12:15, 12:30. We'll put that link out there. Talk to you guys about some last minute lineup changes, as well as some other bets that we'll lock in for the week. More than likely, we'll be locking in again on Underdog as well. So again, thanks for you guys tuning into the EPs. Follow us on Instagram, YouTube, as well as TikTok, Gems with Josh. And guys, thank you so much for showing all the support. I'm hoping you guys are doing well in your leagues. Currently in my big money league, I'm 4-1. Man, it's been up and down. I've been struggling a little bit with some of my guys who I thought would be really good. But hey, 4-1, I'll take it. Getting ready for playoff season. Lock those trades in. It's trade season. We got to start making those trades, getting those guys that you think that can help you become a league winner later on, all right? Again, Gems with Josh, latest EP. Thank you for tuning in. Peace.